This is E&P Reports, a vodcast from Editor and Publisher Magazine, the authoritative voice of news media since 1884, serving newspapers, broadcast, digital, and all forms of news publishing.
And greetings once again, Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. As always, let's first urge you to follow us if you're listening on a podcast platform of pleasure or preference. Boy, do I love alliteration there, Rick. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do me a favor and go to that subscribe button below, smash the bell to the right or click it, and you'll get an update each and every time we upload a new episode of this weekly vodcast series, E&P Reports. We've turned into a new year, and we have a brand new guest on our program, Rick Goldsmith. Rick, if I may be so bold, first, welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you, sir.
Well, it's an honor to be on the show.
You're currently the director and producer of a brand new documentary, which I am 93% through, sir, before recording this. I hope there's not some kind of a tricky ending to it, but it's called Stripped for Parts. And it's a look at American journalism at the Crossroads. It's an amazing piece, sir. Rick, with your permission, before we get into our dialogue, let me share with our audience a trailer. I think that's what you call it, a trailer about this film.
The Denver Post isn't dying. The Denver Post is being murdered. Alden Capital is murdering the Denver Post, and not only the Post, but papers from coast to coast.
Newspapers are not just any other business. They are the only private industry specifically named in the Bill of Rights.
There are times in your life when you are thrust into a situation where are you going to stand up and risk everything, or are you going to back down?
This is not just the internet doing this. Somebody is deliberately killing your hometown paper.
It's an amazing piece, sir. And I want you to know that a lot of the people you've had on that you interview in that movie, which I'm honored you let me look at it, have been on this program, like Steve Waldman and Stuart Bainham, and I could go on and on, Penny Abernathy, Larry Rickman. Mm-hmm. So it should be no surprise to our viewers and listeners that this is a hard look at the world of, vulturism. Am I using the right term, sir? And how it's impacting the journalism industry of today?
Yes, it's hedge funds and private equity in journalism, a new type of media baron that these people have no experience or interest in journalism per se, but they do have interest in making profits.
Well, we're here to talk about Stripped for Parts, and we're going to do all that on the backside of this message.
This episode of E&P Reports is exclusively sponsored by Blocks Digital, formerly Town News. Even though the name has changed, their commitment to the media industry is as strong as ever. Blocks Digital is now even better positioned to deliver integrated solutions like content management, audience development, advertising revenue, video management, and more. Join the over 2,000 news publishers worldwide that power their ongoing digital transformation with Blocks Digital, serving over 141 million monthly users who view over 6.5 billion pages of content each year. You can trust Blocks Digital to empower you, to connect you at scale with the community you need to reach. Blocks Digital, formerly Town News, now reimagined to help meet the news publishing challenges of tomorrow and beyond. Learn more at blocksdigital.com.
So, Rick, the story starts, right, with two guys, Randall Smith and Heath Freeman, who formed Alden Capital, saw an industry in trouble, and knew they could pick it up for pennies on the dollar because families might want to sell out, and then strip it for parts, right?
Yes, it was distressed investing was at the heart of this particular hedge fund, and there are many hedge. Well, there's a handful of hedge funds that are pretty much scarfing up newspapers, but
right.
Distressed investing that was their special gift, I think, is to look at distressed industries, say we can make money there, and then come in. And we had this story. It's not in the film right now because we wrapped up our film several months ago, but in Scranton, Pennsylvania, you had the hedge fund. You had this same hedge fund, Alden Global Capital, come in and basically gutted the newspaper, and they knew, because of some of these journalists that you see in my film having fought back over the past 5 years, they knew what the story was. As somebody else says in the movie, this was a movie coming to a theater near you. That is, the hedge fund comes in and the paper falls apart. They ask for buyouts. Of the top reporters have to take the buyouts, and they lay off staff. They gut the newsrooms, and suddenly it's not really a news organization anymore. It's a profit center.
Well, and you tell the story so well. You talk about how it all started with Dean Singleton. We all remember, at least those of us who have been in this industry for decades, Dean Singleton's digital first media, out of the famous Denver Post. But then when Alden Capital picked it up for pennies on the dollar, because he was, pretty much twice in bankruptcy, they get this industry without wanting to revive it, but strip it. And they saw the number one asset was real estate. They actually had a sub company that was just a room in a building that was taking all this real estate and just, selling it off. I love the fact also that you tell the story of how that real estate was an asset to being in the center of the community. So again, Stripped for Parts is about how we just look at that. What can we do? We can just strip, take out staff, and then eventually not care if the brand exists. Is that what the story?
Well, I think what the hedge funds have found is that people who have been subscribers to the newspapers, they're slow to change their habits. So they'll continue to subscribe, even though the newsroom has been gutted. But yes, you're right that their golden goose were the newspaper buildings and the printing presses, were the assets. And these were worth, in many cases, more than the newspapers themselves. And so the hedge funds would come in, and the first thing that they would do would be to sell the buildings. And why could they do that? Well, the newsrooms are shrinking, and when the hedge funds come in, they shrink even more, so they don't need that amount of space. And because of the changing demographics and everything, they don't need to be in the center of town. It used to be that the newsmen and women would go out and they'd be across from City Hall, and they'd be across from the county courthouse, and they'd be in the same neighborhood, as the government that they were covering. And that's no longer the case. It's very fragmented now. So again, it's a profit center only. And Julie Reynolds, who is the investigative reporter, who's kind of the through line. We interview about a dozen reporters in the film. Julie Reynolds is the investigative reporters that uncovers a lot of this, offshore, the hedge funds being centered in the have shell companies in the Cayman Islands and all that stuff, and they sell off the real estate and they extract the money from the newspapers to put into their other holdings. And you begin to see, oh, this is really something that at its heart ruins the newspapers.
When you go into Denver, fascinating what you do. You really show that revolt and what it meant for these people to just basically stand up to the company and say, no more, no more. The Denver Post needs to survive. And you tell their story brilliantly.
When I read an article about what had happened in Denver, which was basically this editorial sparked a revolt, and they had demonstrations in Denver and also at the New York headquarters of Alden Global Capital, it really was a revolt. And I jumped on the story, and when I interviewed those people from Denver, it was hot. It was, what I mean is they were passionate about what was happening and what was being destroyed. And one of the people at the demonstration, one of the newsmen from the Denver Post, he says, you know, Alden Global Capital they're ignoring us. They're not admitting that we're the reason that they exist. And they say we're existing in spite of us instead of because of us. And they were insulted. And to me, what I was impressed with in interviewing these newspaper men and women, number one, it was a job for them, but more importantly, it was a passion. And every one of them was concerned about what was happening in their area of coverage, whether it was education or immigration or local corruption or pollution because of the industry next door that was polluting the rivers or the air in their neighborhood. And they knew that they weren't going to be able to do this anymore, whether they stayed with the paper or not. If they stayed with the paper, they had the police beat. They were going to have to cover more and more areas, more and more courts, more and more counties. And at a certain point, you're spread so thin, you can't do the job that you're used to doing.
Well, I want to say that you are an amazing storyteller. It was riveting. And once you start, you are engrossed and you tell the story well. So I think the right guy has stepped up to the plate because no one's done such an amazing chronology of the crisis. And you take it from the beginning and you get us to today. So let's assume a publisher in a small town. See, that's the challenge, Rick. I know you know that. I mean, I know there's so many digital startups now, but a lot of them are in communities that have 11, 15, 22 news brands. What about those small, I hate to say it, but that are being ignored towns because they may lean red? I mean, we have a town here in Tennessee where I live, Pulaski, that is the home of the KKK. This is a pretty bright town. I had their mayor on this show that begged for the paper to stay alive. You see, it doesn't matter about politics. The need for a local press is understood by politicians.
Yes,
on both sides of the aisle. So let's assume a town like Pulaski wants to show this film or share this film with its community. How do they do that? I don't understand how the world of documentaries works.
Well, that's the next challenge for me and our team. We have an impact campaign that is just getting off the ground. So we've been in Santa Fe, and we've been in St. Louis, and we've been in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Palo Alto, California, and Washington, D.C. So cities big and towns that are small, and we're going to be going into the more southern towns and Midwestern towns and smaller areas tend to, like you say, they don't have those startups and stuff like that. So we're going to be going out town by town, city by city, and showing this film, and hopefully get then cable cast or TV cast or broadcast. But at first, we're going to be doing that work city by city. We'll be going to Scranton, Pennsylvania. We'll be going to Philadelphia, and we'll be going to Pulaski if we can get an invite there.
So how can the mayor of Pulaski or the publisher in Altoona get you to come to their town? What do they do if they are willing to help you get there, set up the venue, do what it takes, or help distribute the word? What is the process, sir?
Okay, well, we have a website, and you get there by a couple of different names, but the easiest name to get it is Stripped for Parts Film, all one word, strippedforpartsfilm.com, and that will bring you to our website, and you'll get the instructions right there. Here's how you can help. Contact us. We will, we want to talk to you. And then how can we come out to your town? Maybe you have the newspaper editor of your town, or maybe there's somebody working for some local organization or a News Guild, chapter there that can come out. We show the film. Maybe I'll be on a panel with one of your people, with a newspaper editor, with a News Guild member, with somebody who's involved in this issue, and then we'll talk for another half hour after the film.
Rick, I'm honored to have you on the program. We love your message, and let's amplify it. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks so much, Mike.